Parasite Eve is a really special game. One that's really important to me. I honestly can't remember how I found it. I just remember booting it up when I was way too young to have any hope of understanding what I was seeing, and being completely mesmerized. This game absolutely has the most banger of an opening. And the most traumatizing first level of any horror-related media I've ever seen. And as a Resident Evil obsessed kid, I was hooked. At least until I got to day 2 and saw the scene of everyone melting into puddles, and quickly shut the game off. That scene gave child me nightmares for weeks. But it was that experience of near mental scarring that locked this game into a corner of my brain so deeply that I'd never forget it. And when I was brave enough to try again and keep my parents from ever seeing the gross parts, it quickly became one of my favorite games ever that still persists to this day. And one of the few that I always make sure to play once a year around Christmas time, because this is actually a Christmas game, funnily enough. Let's talk about it. Parasite Eve's setup is a seemingly simple one. It's Christmas Eve in New York in the year 1997, and our main character, Aya, is invited to Carnegie Hall to see an opera that's all the rage. The show's on fire, you could say. Anyway, after a short scene, the first song of the show starts, and we're immediately greeted with some crazy body horror as the entire audience starts going up in flames. This is what I was talking about earlier. This game turns the intensity up to 11 in less than 5 minutes of starting, and it just completely captivated me when I was little. You just immediately get hooked wanting to know why such a crazy thing is happening. I've never had any media captivate me so perfectly like this before, or since I played this for the first time. After the tragic death of almost the entire audience, we find Aya and her panicking date are the only ones completely unharmed. Though we never see this loser again. Someone just tells us later he ran out of there like a wimp. Poor guy. But anyway, this is where the game starts proper, and Aya rushes the stage to be thrown into our first battle, where we're shown the most unique thing about Parasite Eve's gameplay. You have complete free movement in battles, and have to dodge attacks while your action gauge fills up. Not unlike the AT gauges in Final Fantasy turn-based games. But unlike those, you cannot relax between turns. You have to constantly be moving to try to avoid what the game is throwing at you. And this spin on it really keeps you on your toes. Once you have your turn, you can attack with your weapon or use a magic spell. Aya has magic, by the way, that is slowly awakening as the game progresses, and why she has this is another mystery of the game's plot. After the first battle concludes, the mysterious singer floats away and Aya gives chase, running into many more monstrosities and coming out victorious in the end. Though the singer gets away after some very confusing statements. She does run into her partner Daniel though, who is the best character ever. Total boss. Now, I'm not going to go over the entire plot of Parasite Eve in this video, because plenty of other people have done that in the over 25 years this game has been around. And also on the off chance you've never seen this before, you should really play it and uncover the plot yourself. But I will go over everything I just love about this title. As mentioned, Parasite Eve's gameplay and systems are very unique. I've never seen anything quite like it in any other game. Even the other Parasite Eve games don't really scratch the same itch this gives me. Combat, while you seemingly don't have a ton of options, really shows you don't need them for it to be interesting due to the constant movement and attempts to dodge attacks, keeping you on your toes. Not even just the battles are unique though. There's also a weapon and armor customization system using items called pools that let you near infinitely increase the stats of items you like. And you can also move traits between weapons. For example, naturally, a shotgun has a wide spread that can hit multiple enemies, right? Well, what if you took that type of spread shot and moved it over to a handgun instead? Or even better, took the rapid fire ability of a machine gun and put it on a rifle. There's obviously very optimal combinations, and it can get a bit simplistic, but boy is it fun anyway. There's also a nice handful of hidden mechanics, some that feel not even intentional, and the game doesn't tell you about any of them. You just have to learn as you play. For example, the more you use magic in a battle, the slower your magic gauge recharges. You can actually reset the speed of the recharge by switching armors mid-combat. Random as hell, but it works. Adding the weapon traits that lets you fire more shots actually nerfs your damage more and more the more shots you have, so you don't want too many. But there's also a trait called Random that seems bad, but lets you add another shot to your attack without this degradation. Also, you're invincible for a second after getting hit, so you can run into enemies and take just a few points of damage to avoid bigger attacks if you time it right. Also, there's a weapon mod system to add more trait slots to weapons. You don't actually want to use this immediately upon learning about it, since you only get a few and you have no traits to modify guns with at the start of the game. There's also super tools that you can only find a couple of that are hidden really well that let you do some more advanced modification, so they don't destroy the weapon you pull the stats or traits from like regular tools do. And there's also a weapon and armor weight system that slows down how fast your action gauge moves, so you don't want to use too many really heavy items. But also the only indication of an item weight is its picture, so it takes some guesswork. And another thing to watch out for is that you take more damage when hit from behind, so you have to make sure you're always facing attacks. And okay, you might get the point. Come to think of it, this might be a game that's a bit too deep for its own good. But boy, do I love it. There's only a few characters that get notable screen time in Parasite Eve, with a very clear main three that the game focuses on. There's Aya, our main girl, her friend and buddy cop Daniel, and Maida, a nerdy researcher who appears halfway through the plot to help. These characters, while they may not seem like much, feel so very real with their personalities and how they react to crazy and ridiculous situations the game throws at them. Aya is struggling with the strange magical energy that she's gained access to, unsure if she's going to transform into a monster like the villain of the story has. While Daniel is a loving father that takes no sass from anyone, and is honestly one of the funniest character introductions of any dude from this area of gaming, I'd say. Maida is a bit of a weird one, and he can be a bit annoying at first, especially with how he clogs your inventory with useless good luck charms. But there's a reason for those, but try not to get too irritated as you run back to the item box to ditch them. He means well, and truly cares for Aya and wants to help. I honestly love these three, and it's always so hype seeing them overcome the struggles the story puts them through and come out on the other side. Now, I mentioned a comparison to Final Fantasy earlier. You may notice this game's graphical and art style really resembles Final Fantasy VIII, because this game was actually a technical test for the same engine that was used to create Final Fantasy VIII. It's also still developed by Square. I don't know, I just always found that really funny, since these two games really couldn't be much more different. This game looks very nice for its time due to using that Final Fantasy engine, especially if you do some resolution upscaling on the emulators of today to smooth out the rough edges. And the CGIs haven't even aged too poorly. They're still traumatizing and as memorable as ever. One extra detail that I always really liked in Parasite Eve is that the world map perfectly reflects what New York City looked like in 1997, right down to the locations. It, might not match it too perfectly these days, but you know, it's still really cool. I hope you've enjoyed this look through Parasite Eve. I mainly just really wanted to show it off and talk about it, as this game will always be special to me. One I always plan to return to every December. This game is easily one of my favorites, and while I hope for a remake of some kind someday, it's kind of in trademark hell, I hear. Due to it actually being the sequel to a Japanese novel by the same name, that also got a movie adaptation. I always found that really cool. But there's a rumor the writer of said novel kinda hates this series, so I doubt he'd be up to help with a remake or anything, unfortunately. I can't even say I blame him with how the later games of Parasite Eve turned out. But that's something for another time. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and check out my other videos or streams. If you enjoyed this, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and don't take anything for granted.